You're on mute or something, Mr. Bernstein.
Thank
Mark, we
you.
can't hear you. There you go.
Now you can.
Now we
It,
can.
and it's Tinderbox Meetup with Michael Becker. I'm Mark Bernstein, the designer of Tinderbox, and we get together every week to discuss problems, challenges, and topics about Tinderbox. These are really interesting times. We've got Tinderbox talking to a new AI model, Claude Code, this week. It's been fascinating. And so there will be probably a Tinderbox update sometime midweek. So keep an eye out for that. Lots of progress. But without further delay, here is Michael Becker.
Hey, everybody. Again, what we typically do is we go around the room and we have new people introduce ourselves. We don't have any new people. We have people we haven't seen in months wave at us and say hi. Hey, Detlef. Awesome to see you. It's been ages. I'm super excited to hear what you have about Claude Code. I had an incredible meeting with Jacob Evans yesterday, or Friday. And we were going through, and he and I were able to use Claude Code to debug one of my more complex installer templates and zero in on like this one line that was causing me problems. And so for those also that are interested in Tinderbox and AI, make sure you circle back on the forum and look at the Tinderbox skill set for Claude that Jacob's put together. And then if you install that, Claude then has a complete understanding of ATB-ref and all of its elements. And so then when you start actually interrogating Claude Code with where in my installer is this screwed up, it came back in like 13 seconds and said, okay, it's this line. And then I was able to interrogate it back and forth and find the solution I needed for my particular code. So it wasn't as if it gave me a good answer, but it wasn't, but I knew enough about my own code and process to know it was not the right answer, but it pointed to me where the problem was. And then together we were able to, figure out the right solution for my context. So I thought it was a glorious experience. Mr. Bernstein.
Yes, is this a piece of action code or an export template?
For the Jacob Evans,
Yeah.
it's a series of markdown files that he's
No,
created.
I mean you're the thing that you fixed.
Oh, action code. It was
Action
a
code.
it
Very
was a
cool.
library. It was a library. Yeah. And it went in and actually this tells me something I want to bring up to you too today. What it came up and together we figured it out that it said, because I suggested, might it be something to do with how the dictionary keys are being retrieved? And it said it absolutely is that. You found it. And the issue I'm having, Mark, is the dictionary keys are being retrieved in whatever order they're being retrieved, not in the order I'm requesting them. So there's a sort thing happening. So I'll be posting that in the backstage. There's a split solution around it to make it work, but that's interesting. But for without further ado, super excited to have Andreas Grimm with us today. He is our primary speaker for today's session. He very politely last week had introduced this idea that he's figured out how to use Claude Code, Claude Plan. That's another Claude model for planning. To help him kind of grok how all of these AI Tinderbox pieces to come together. And in particular, when he and I were talking about it Sunday afternoon at the meetup, was that if you do this right and you really align with the AI as your partner, you can distance yourself more and more from like needing to be that hardcore technical engineer and get back to the job of thinking. And I'm really hoping that he touches on that today in today's discussion. So without further ado, Andreas, why don't we hand it over to you and you can share with us how you've set up your partnership with Claude and Tinderbox.
All
And
right.
show all the automatic automation that you've pulled together for us.
Well, we'll see. Hello, everybody. I'm just trying to make up what I was boldly suggesting last week, so to speak, a proof of concept. Now is the time to deliver and not being bold anymore. And I'm reading the blog of some certain Mark Bernstein, who wrote on the 13th of February today's AI can make you better at doing things you do well. That is what AI is for. And the idea, basically, for today is supposed to be we have the incredible tool Tinderbox made by Mark Bernstein, and we have the incredible chronology or encyclopedia, if you like, of ATB-Ref by Mr. Mark Anderson. Why don't we have them talk to each other? And this is funny because these are really sped up times. Last week I was talking about AppleScript and OsaScript. Then a few days later, Jacob Evans delivered his Claude skill, which include everything we just theoretically talked over. I already incremented that, feedbacked something to him because the skill is just incredible. But it is, as far as I understand it, not ATB-Ref entirely, but it renders the ncroc solution that I was pointing at um, um, useless or not needed anymore. So in other words, I don't want to talk with you too much about technical stuff because this has been talked over in the forum quite a bit. What I'm trying to do with you today is, in a rather quick manner, go from the very start to the very end. That means we setting up Claude Code, talking to Tinderbox, making use of the skill of Jacob Evans, and making use of AppleScript, and if needed, making use of Python scripts. We set this up so that you can see it is not witchcraft. It is just someone like me can pull off. So that means everybody can. That is what I tried to show. Then we start simple and do some simple things we would expect from MCP at the beginning when Claude Chat, so to speak, was talking to Tinderbox. Remember, way back in April 25, I think it was Philip Kuster who just kicked us off on this one. And since then, it took an enormous rally up to now, where we are not talking about having Claude Chat talking to Tinderbox, but using the supposedly high-profile Claude Code, which is now available through the Claude desktop app. I'll show you in a second. And the importance of this is that we can do a lot of planning and a lot of things that wouldn't have been possible with just using the MCP we've been using for the past few months. And this basically sets the frame and opens up the possibility of having Tinderbox and Claude doing basically everything I wanted to do. There is some water pulling in the background. Maybe someone
That's
could
Michael taking a
kindly.
pee.
That's me. That's me. Sorry, I was getting coffee. I stepped away.
No
Sorry
worries.
about that.
No problem. I just want to make sure because I'm not
Yeah.
as fluent in English as I'm in my
No, I
mother
forgot to
tongue.
hit
So
mute.
I'm sorry. Okay, so basically to come back and not to get off the rails. Um, I'm I love Tinderbox. I've been using it for about 10 years now, but I'm not as fluent and as proficient in it as a lot of other guys around here are. I love to read all the contributions in the forum and stuff, but it eats up a lot of time. And in the end, I'm often not quite there yet to solve the things I have to do and want to do with Tinderbox. And that's why I'm taking an utterly different approach that says, imagine I do not know anything and we start over, but we want to be um, pleased and we won't settle with anything less than extraordinary. All right? this is what we're trying to do. At least that's what I try to do. And Michael is about was so kind and asked me to share my impressions and first experiences. Michael.
I don't know. I think you were kind of voluntold. I kind of asked, but I kind of told you
Yes,
to do it.
right.
Also, can you make sure that you also, if you can, demonstrate how you've pulled in all of the are all the videos from like all of the hundreds of meetups we've done, or is that going to be part of your demo?
Yeah, probably. But
Okay, perfect.
the first things first, I really want to
Yep,
make sure because I've watched a lot of the meetups I hadn't been able to attend, and I really want to make sure that we here in a live situation can enjoy it as much as people coming later and take a look at it. So I
perfect.
really try to have a run through. And since we will experience or witness Claude doing some thinking and some working, those are the times when we actually can talk. To get things started, I rather start, go, don't take questions at the beginning, and then once Claude is working and showing stuff, then we could alongside do the talking. I hope this is a suggestion that makes sense, but I want to have as concise a performance as possible, since again, I'm not as fluent in English. And there is another hack I will use because once I get excited, then I probably rather switch to German. So what I'm doing is I'm prompting Claude in German and have before Claude is working, returning what I prompted it in German in English so everybody can read along. All right.
That's cool.
So, so this is just the way we are working these days, guys. And it's me who's telling the community, first of all, and that's what the last preliminary remarks I want to do is, um, I was told to be here today. Michael is right, but again, although I'm a little excited and I don't know whether I can deliver it the way I conceived it, but I'm grateful and I want to pay back to the community as quickly and as immediately I can as I can. Just the other night, I decently asked Mr. Bernstein whether I could get a hold on the latest release of TBX because I just want to make sure that I don't have the snapback effect and stuff like that. And he supported me, and I just have to tell you, thank you, sir, thank you. So without further ado, what we do is I share my screen. On the left side, we have an empty Tinderbox. On the right side, we have an empty Claude
Okay.
code. We want to start
I don't see your screen yet, or am I missing something?
because I haven't started yet.
Oh, got it,
Just
got it, got it. Okay.
okay. I just wanted to tell you everything I do in order to make sure I'm not losing anyone, because it is important that we have all those things straight out and then go to the real work. As it says in Claude, I don't know whether you know everybody knows the David Allen GTD, getting things done. And in front of a Claude prompt, there is a GSD. You don't guess what it stands for. It says get shit done. And that's what we're about to do here. All right. Okay, first things first, we need to share the screen. And I hopefully can achieve this over here. Right. Now, you're supposed to see. Oh, goodness. Okay, this is today's meetup note. Can everybody see this?
Yep.
So
So
on the left,
Claude, Tinderbox on the left, Claude on the right.
all right. So I just need to make sure that I see um, the meeting. How do I achieve getting hold on of the faces here? So I do have to do it this way. Okay, no, that's not a good idea. Okay, let me get started. You have on the left side we have a Tinderbox. On the right side you have Claude, and you see all those three tabs. And we have the chat. This is the one Claude started being available with. Then in the middle we have co-work, and on the right side we have code. I don't want to go astray. I just want to stay focused on what I'm trying to deliver. So the first things first things first, we create a folder, a project folder that is stored locally. I already did this. You can imagine you just go down here and you select a folder. Either you choose one that is already available, otherwise you gonna create one. And the first thing I do actually is I'm asking Claude.
And just as Andres, just to be clear, that's a local folder stored on Finder. It's not something special with AI. It's
It
just
is
in your
just a
Finder.
local folder stored on your drive,
Yep.
available through the Finder. All right.
Yep.
And what I'm doing there actually is I'm telling you, hold on. I have material, the book, the Tinderbox Way I bought, and Thinking with Tinderbox, which I bought too, and the manuals, agents, and dashboards, as well as Getting Started with Tinderbox, which are both available through the help menu in Tinderbox, not in this one, but usually in Tinderbox. And I stored all those information alongside an offline version of ATBREF, and I have this on my drive. And whenever I start to work, I get make an alias of this folder. Let me make an alias and stick this alias into this very into this very I'll show you in a second. Now you can see here is the folder. This is the folder just matching the one down here. Um, and in this, I have an alias with the material of the stuff, ATBREF, the action, Tinderbox action and dashboards, and the books. We even have the skills stored here, but it's already installed, so I don't have to do anything about it. So this is important because, as you see, we haven't even started yet. We just arranged the setting, and the first thing I do is I'm asking Claude, do you see Tinderbox, and which open documents do you see? And now, as I announced, I command Claude that whenever throughout the session I will deliberately or unconsciously switch to German, I want to make sure that you can follow along. So Claude is supposed to translate whatever I say in German once I switch to German. Und um sicher zu sein, dass wann immer ich im Laufe dieser Sitzung aus Versehen Deutsch mit dir spreche, bitte ich dich zunächst immer die Übersetzung exakt und sehr gut wiederzugeben und erst dann mit der Arbeit zu beginnen. Hast du mich verstanden? So, we'll see. Now that we're doing it for the first time, we have to say we trust the workspace, and off we went. I have to say something because I announced that whenever Claude is working, I will use the time in between to talk a little bit. And down here you see two further settings. There is the one that says ask permission, auto accept, or go in plan mode. I hope we will have time to showcase this. For the time being, at the very beginning, I start with ask permissions, and later we just switch to auto accept to speed things up. On the other side, there are actually three models available. For most of the work you guys are about to do, Sonnet will be just perfect. But because I try to include some reasoning aspects as well in the showcase we do today, so I'd rather stick to Opus. It sometimes takes a little bit more time, and it certainly takes up a little bit more of tokens. But for the time being, I will keep it like this, and just to let you know why these are the settings I'm using at the beginning. So here we have it, and you see the translation, and I hope you can read it. And be sure, whenever I accidentally speak German with you during the session, I ask and so on. Can you see this?
Yep.
Okay, great. Sometimes the acoustic feedback for me would be appreciated because I'm in the car right now and I'm just having the iPad as a second external monitor and my MacBook. So it's really hardcore instead of using my usual setup with two external monitors, which are much larger, have offer more real estate. But we should be fine now. And as you can see, there are three open Tinderbox documents, and we come to them in a moment. But the one we are working with today, of course, is supposed to be this one. And there are only a few things I do at the very beginning, which is I go to File, go to Built-in Hints, because this invokes both the Hints folder and the Prototypes folder. And the second thing I usually do is I create a node and I call this one content 00 because it might be possible that later on we need another content folder in the same session. So just to be safe that we don't get things mixed up. And as we see in the hint folder in the AI, we not only have Claude any longer, but alongside Gemini, also Claude Code. And this is the next thing I do. I go right click, get copy node path, put it down here and say, and now proof of concept, I'm speaking in German again, so I can be more I can do it more quickly, and we'll see whether the translation works. You can read it while Claude is working, so everybody's engaged all the time. Keep them busy. So, bevor wir loslegen, noch die Information, wo du alle deine Erkenntnisse im Verlauf einer Session abspeicherst, damit wir sie hier in Tinderbox auf jeden Fall haben und nicht verlieren. Los geht's. Okay, here we go. So now first we are awaiting the translation. So before we get started, here's the information about where you should save all your findings during a session so that we definitely have them here in Tinderbox and don't lose them. Let's go. Then I hinted to this, and as we might see in the next few seconds, that those notes start coming in. Okay, so this is basically the setup we are doing. No, this is not correct what I'm saying, because there is one thing missing. And while Claude is working, as I can go ahead and go on and actually prepare the next prompt already, so that once Claude is done, it'll be able to pick up with the next prompt. Okay, it said it's founded and it could it's going to put down all those information and whatsoever in there in notes in order to pick them up whenever it needs it. So, nun schau noch mal nach. Im Projektordner gibt es auch eine ganze Anzahl von Dokumentationsmaterialien, PDFs, the Tinderbox Way, Thinking with Tinderbox, noch zwei andere PDFs und ATB-Ref. Die möchte ich, dass du die auf jeden Fall zur Kenntnis nimmst, damit du sie dann benutzen kannst, und prüf auch noch mal, ob der Skill aktiviert ist. There we have it, and I can read you the translation, which makes it more conceivable for you. Now, look again in the project folder. That's the one down here at the button, which we created at the beginning. And and there are also quite a number of documentation material, PDF Tinderbox, where you're thinking with Tinderbox. Well, he did not pick it up correctly because I probably did not pronounce it correctly. But he will find out anyway, and he will tell me what's in there. So you see, it's smart enough to tell me that's the Tinderbox way in the 3rd edition. It's thinking with the Tinderbox as a copy I made from my DevonThink, and actions and dashboards, and tutorial getting started with Tinderbox. Now, this is what I dreamt of, all right? Having the crate tool and having all those information available at Claude's fingertips. And well, we should be ready to go and start start working. But before I do that, I just want to hold my breath and ask whether you can follow along, whether I'm too slow or too
It's
quick.
perfect. No,
Or
your pacing is great.
okay, good.
Keep going.
Because I can't see you, I'm
Yeah,
really
yeah,
just
yeah. Got it.
relying on your acoustic input. So now the question is, I'll let you know, because as I told you, I was impressed and excited. Why was this so? And I give you a sneak preview of what I did, and then we come back to our Tinderbox document. Put it here in front position, because I wanted to make sure that you see everything I do from the get-go. So I have open in a new tab. This is a new tab. We go in map view, of course. Um, I created a bunch of things, as Michael was already pointing you at the beginning. And it is impressive when I look back at everything I've done within the last week. And then I made a test drive yesterday in preparation for today's session. And what I created yesterday is just way above everything I've done before. Although a week back, I thought I just created something astounding. So really be prepared what you're going to get. And I stress this at the beginning because I really want to make sure that today we are experiencing ourselves not so much as perfect tinkerers who know how to fix some action code stuff. By the way, we have some acoustic input from television or something like that. So if you wouldn't mind to lower the volume of this a little bit, that would make sure that I'm not losing my thread. Thank you very much. Um, Now I lost the thread, but maybe I can pick it up. Um,
We're not
uh,
tinkerers. You were talking about
yeah,
us
all
not
right.
being tinkers.
Today we are not tinkerers. Today are we just knowing what we want, although we don't know entirely yet. But while we are working, we are coming up with new wild ideas, and we don't want to hold ourselves back on those ideas, but want to say, okay, once you achieve this, why don't you try this? And once you achieve this, can you do it like this? Oh, that's not working. Then let's do it the other way around. Have you really looked it up in ATB Ref? Make sure to go there again. We are going in this mode today, all right? And it might start slowly because at the beginning it really needs to assemble and gather all those information and bring them in. But we don't have to watch the whole time me doing this because, as I said, I have something in the oven prepared. I can show you in the end, so you will have you will see at least something. But I want you to see the process and to get engaged and even enjoy the slowness at the beginning and then the awesome pickup of speed that you will experience. All right. What I did at the very beginning, I did some, those are things I already created. And by the way, with using this setup, I fulfilled something I always wanted to have, like a dashboard of all those things I did, to be able to get more easily and more quickly to all those things that I created. So let's say I worked a little bit about Gottlob Frege's Begriffsschrift, whatever it is, and I open this up and I have this link, and I click at this to this link. I click the link, and then I see what I created over here. I used the Begriffsschrift, which is a very important work by Gottlob Frege, and just within, let's say, 20 minutes, with Claude, I created what's the problem, what's the innovation of Frege, what is the Werkzeug, the tool, and what is the outcome, the work at the end. And then to make sure I can have this over here available, I just say, come on, go ahead and create me a poster of an SVG graphic stick it in here so I can use it on my Claude TBX dashboard file and have a nice dashboard. And whenever I click on it, as you can see, then you have the hover appearing over here. And whatever I do, look at this one. I see the hover showing the title, and then I click on it and I go to this very document just immediately. And as you can see in the Frege stuff, this is what makes Tinderbox so outstanding. So I want to make sure I understand what the problem is. Then I do what you do best in Tinderbox. You just read it while selecting all those nodes. There we have it. This is incredible. I just love it. Okay. So now things like these we are about to create ourselves. And the best thing to do it is start with an empty Tinderbox.
Right. And again, just to be clear, Andreas, everything you did there was all automagically created. All of the links, all of the text. It was just you going back and forth with your partner, Claude. You weren't manually creating endorments or anything of that
We were
nature.
talking. Shall I say we just had a good time, and while I was talking, he was working. You know,
Mhm.
And I really want to showcase this mode. I want you to see how interesting it is once you read on the right side what Claude is doing, thinking, which which documentations it is consulting, why it is sorting out that this make action move might not work in this. And then he's flipping around and finding a new solution. This is just incredible. And while it is interesting already to watch Claude at work, it is also amazing what the output is at the in the end. So the idea I want to suggest is that we do something like this. We get this toward emergent structure because I think this is a perfect fit.
Mhm.
I take the URL and I go to my friend Claude, put the URL in and say, Claude, hier ist eine URL, bei der ich erst einmal möchte, dass du dir einen Überblick verschaffst, was da alles drin ist. Und das tust du am besten dadurch, dass du die 38 Einträge, die es in diesem Thread zu geben scheint, erst einmal in einzelnen Nodes hier auf dem Tinderbox Map View in Content 00 anrichtest und am Ende machst du ein Cleanup im Grid View Modus. Hast du das verstanden? And I always finish with, do you read? Do you understand? Do you see what I mean? Because this is some sort of having a Claude not just rushing off and doing the stuff and sometimes doing some mistakes, and I have to go over these things. I just make sure that he really understands. And as he says, Claude, here's a URL. That's what I asked him to do. And I say, where I first want you to get an overview of everything that is here. You do this best by first arranging the 38 entries that appear to be in this thread as individual nodes here in Tinderbox on the map view in Content 00. And at the end, you do a cleanup in grid view mode. Did you understand that? All
And
right.
do you find like the did you understand the if does politeness help, like saying thank you and please and stuff like
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Do you find this kind of more natural humanist dialogue to
No.
be helpful?
Well, there is another nice blog entry of Mark Bernstein pondering exactly about this. But this is not being polite. This is just me making sure that Claude is knowing what he's doing. So there is no politeness involved once asking whether he understands. Do you read is really a command of report back to me that you know what you're supposed to do. See? And at the beginning, as I promised you, there is a lot to be seen, not to be seen, all right? Because as we just get things started, it takes a little bit, which gives me time to talk a little bit more about the mechanics. Because as you can see down here, and many of you are familiar with this, so I don't have to introduce you to stuff like that and carry coal to Newcastle. I don't. I want I don't want to do this. But while we are, killing time, things start coming in. All right. And I love that. I love that because now we're doing business. Okay. We have those threads and we have them in chunks that we can really make a sense of. But
And are
as
and
you
are
can
those
see,
and are those summaries? That's not the actual text from the post. That's a summary that Claude's put in there.
that's right. That's right. So this is probably something I wrongly did. So we want to make sure that we really have the text from the from the website verbatim. We don't want him to make a summary. So maybe, and as you watch this session go on, you will experience and witness Claude become wittingly, how we say this, more experienced and provisionary and smart. So it really reads sort of your mind and knows that it's not supposed to provide you with summaries anymore once you are actually asking for the original text. But I can hold for a second and wait till he's done, and then I'm asking him whether he's pleased, and if he wouldn't mind to also do some checkup whether these are the verbatim text or whether it is just a summary. But as you can see down there, updating tools, fetch all 38 posts, create individual notes in Tinderbox, clean up level in grid view, and saving session findings in hints. Now look at this. There we go. All right. We said you have to put all your findings in here. So it does do that. There we have it. Because those information might be of interest for us further down the road. I love that. Okay. But now we have to talk. And look at this. Isn't it great? He's not only doing the job, he's really doing a good job and doing all the documentation and letting you know what he came up with. Das ist großartig. Ich habe nur ein Problem, nämlich der Text in den Notes ist nicht der tatsächliche Text 1:1 aus dem Internet, sondern du hast eine Zusammenfassung geschrieben. Ich möchte jetzt, dass du unter die Zusammenfassung in jeder dieser 38 Notes auch noch einmal den kompletten, vollständigen Beitrag einer jeden Person einträgst. Hast du das verstanden? So, I told him, as you will see in a second, that's great. I just have one problem. The text in the notes is not the actual text one-to-one from the internet, but rather you wrote a summary. I now want you to, below the summary in each of these 38 notes, also enter the complete full post of each person. Did you understand that? Well, it seems like, yes, I understand. You want the original verbatim forum post text added below the summary in each note. Let me fetch the actual raw content of all 38 posts from the forum. So this is the way we want to work. We have a problem. We tell our assistant to fix it, and he is he's not goofing around. He's just doing it right away. And it probably will take a few further minutes. And now he said the document could not save anyway. Okay. He's extracting the complete raw text from post 1 to 10. He's doing it in blocks and chunks. And while he's working, we can already carry on and create the next things we actually want to do. So is there someone who has an idea what next we should do? I can suggest something, but I'd rather start getting you involved and hear whether there are things you'd like to know from the information we already pulled in. Is there a? And Michael, you please take care of the chat as well as people raising their hands because I can't see anyone. If this not the case, if that's not the case,
Sorry,
then
sorry. The comment from Mark, the spontaneous color coding. So that's
yeah.
I'm guessing that is the names of the color coded for the different posts, but from different
Well,
people.
well, you shouldn't guess,
Oh yeah, there it
because
is.
we don't want to do guesswork here.
Yeah.
That's what's so important. It is telling you exactly what the color coding is all about, and not just in the console here for Claude, but it made a documentation down here as well. See? So now Claude, next time it's returning to this document, it can picks up from there and knows how to carry on. And this is the way I think we're supposed to work. We will later see that I try to do some sum up, some wrap up of what we are doing, having Claude creating a workflow chart, so to speak, and link every milestone he's creating to the respective documentation note and notes. Do you read?
Yep.
Okay, nice. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say do you read when I'm actually talking to the community, but in fact, I'm sitting here at a computer in a dark car and having rather the impression of talking to myself. So that's
Yeah, I
why
know. It's hard.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm
you're doing great.
getting a little wild and off rails from time. But see what he's doing. Translation. Okay, now we have to make sure that everything we ask it to do is showing up, and I don't think that that's the case. Probably because we have the interruption with the autosave information. But here now it's coming in. Now you see, there you have it. All
Hmm.
right, we love that. Okay, now it's still working, as you can see. Sometimes it is not as obvious as it should need to be um, to let you know whether it is still tinkering, thinking, or even working. But as you can see, for the first posts, the summary remained, and then it says original post, and down there we have it. Now what I'm doing is I'm saying while he's still working and finishing off the work, I'm creating the next thing I want to do. Because again, remember, it is not so much about showing you how Tinderbox works, but how a dummy like me is commanding Claude to use Tinderbox in order to do some stuff within it that helps me to have to emerge some sense, to emerge some coherence, to have an emergence of understanding, so to speak, what the whole thing actually is all about. That doesn't mean that whenever I feel the need to go inside and create a node myself, but for the time being, I just really want to talk to Claude and let Claude do everything for me. And just want to make sure. I'd suggest that I go, let's say, for 5 or 10 further minutes, and then we see how far I've gotten, and then I switch to the thing I have in the oven, so you can see how this looks in the end, and where I guess you really have some sort of emergent insight into this very thread we pulled the information from. Is this a
And by the
suggestion?
way, you have a lot of time. You have about 45 minutes to an hour.
Yes, I know, but I
Yeah.
want to make sure that I'm not just sitting here and talking the whole time, because people getting the hang of it rather quickly. So we just sit here and wait, having Claude fulfilling all the stuff. And I'd rather, at least that's the suggestion. I don't have to. We can play it out entirely. But I'd rather suggest that we stop presenting, because I just show you the finished product, and I show you a PowerPoint we create straight from the Tinderbox. And once we have this, then I'd love to talk to the community, because that's what's it all about, to have a meetup. Okay. Um, so he's doing all this updating things, as you can see now, with 10 to 20, and it's going to take him a little longer. That's why I'm preparing the next prompt already, which is about to say, ich hätte gerne 4 große Themenbereiche, die du thematisch identifizierst, die hier in diesem Thread verhandelt werden. Und die sollst du mir dann mit einem knackigen Titel als 4 Adornments mit sprechenden Farben quadratisch anordnen. Und wenn du soweit bist, dann sage ich dir, was als nächstes kommt. Hast du das verstanden? So, it is working in the background and still checking what my input is. Because sometimes it finds out that what I just asked him would be worth being dealt with immediately, while the other things he actually had been working on for quite some time, he can pause for a second and carries on with that, which is interesting. So as you can see, now he's doing a lot of stuff I actually did not ask for, but we're holding our breath, we're just waiting, because we'll see. The adornments are sized 14 by 8 each and arranged as a clean square. What comes next? Die Originalnotizen sollen sich oberhalb der Adornments befinden. Die Adornments sind frei, denn auf den Adornments ordnest du dann die entsprechenden Nodes an, aber nicht die Nodes selbst, sondern die Aliases der Nodes, die zu diesen 4 von dir identifizierten Rubriken passen. Hast du das verstanden? Das ist eine ziemlich komplexe Anforderung und ich bin mir nicht selbst sicher, ob ich das, was ich gerade gesagt habe, verstanden habe. Also, gib mir erstmal Feedback. So this was a long talk to Claude, as you might see in a second, and I read it to you entirely, so you see how my thinking actually really gets started. Now we are in the mid game, so to speak, right? Oh, now look, now he's getting creative himself because he want to supersede what I'm doing with Tinderbox with himself. So I don't need Tinderbox anymore because Claude now is Tinderbox himself. Okay, look at this. The original should be located above the adornments. The adornments are free, empty, because on the adornments you then arrange the corresponding nodes, but not the nodes themselves, rather the aliases of the nodes that match these 4 categories you identified. And now I ask him, did you understand that? This is a pretty complex requirement, and I'm not even sure myself if I understood what I just said. So give me feedback first. All right? So see what he's doing. Great question. Let me reflect this back to make sure we are aligned. This is really important. The plan is, I understand it. Original 38 nodes, move them above the 4 adornments. Second, on each adornment, place aliases, not the originals, exclamation mark, of the nodes that belong to the theme. A single node can have aliases on multiple adornments. This is important if it touches multiple topics. The originals remain untouched above. The adornments below show the thematic grouping via aliases. So the layout would look like this. One question, Claude asks me. Some posts touch multiple themes. Should I create aliases on all matching adornments or assign each post to only one primary theme? On all matching adornments. And while we are talking, I want you to create a flag, look it up in ATB-Ref, create a flag on each node representing the color of the adornment and is placed on. And once an alias appears on more than one adornment, then of course the flag should represent this as well and gives me and give me 2 colors instead of just 1. Do you understand? So now you had the pleasure of me commanding Claude in English, which is awful, but I just thought I'd give you some reason to laugh. And and you heard what I said. So I want to make sure that we're getting the originals out of the way. We just haven't aliases being stuck on the um, put on the adornments, and then we have those nice little cherry on the cake by flagging those aliases with colors of the respective adornments color in the background. And once it fits on more than one topic and thus than one adornment, then it should divide the color flag into two or even three, which is kind of nice. All right. So, and there is one step further. We'll see how this works. And by the way, because as I told you, I did this yesterday. I did a test drive yesterday. What I easily could do is look at the other TBX file I just created yesterday. All the things you are supposed to do right now, I did yesterday already, and I put all the findings and the knowledge in the respective notes folder. So it would be easy for me to shortcut this and have Claude take in all these information from another Tinderbox. So Tinderbox, well curated as far as knowledge and findings are concerned, are not even self-contained and pretty and neat to work with, but they also deliver information and commands and instructions, so to speak, for other Tinderbox projects you have in the future. Does this make sense? Works like a
So
template.
Yeah, Andreas, and Paul has an interesting comment. He said, kind of contrarian, but all this makes me identify how pleasurable it is for me to do all this manually when I generate and improve my own understanding with progressive elaboration. Not a criticism of Claude, just a pleasant realization. So, can you kind of comment from your own experience on that balance between manual curation and the automagic stuff that Claude does for us?
Yeah, but of course I can because I'm completely with Paul. I do most of the things myself as well, but there are times when I need to do something I wouldn't even know it would be possible to do with Tinderbox. So in this situation, I would say I try to do something like this, but I don't even know whether you're capable of this. So I'm describing wipe coding, so to speak, and Tinderbox is going into Tinderbox way, thinking with Tinderbox and ATB ref, and comes up with the suggestion, hey, why are you not using badges like this? Or we making a new attribute and doing stuff like that, and then you can go and work this way or whatsoever. The second comment on this, Paul, is I'm doing this automatically right now just to showcase what this connection is capable of. I'm not saying this is the way it is supposed to be done in the future and for the rest of the times. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just wanting to make sure that you see in a rather condensed way what the connection Claude and Tinderbox is capable of once you use skills, not only MCPs, once you use AppleScript, once you use Python code, and once you have source material like the PDFs and ATB-ref. Does it make sense, Paul? Well,
Yeah,
obviously not.
I don't know, Paul. Did that make sense? I don't know if
Yeah,
he's on mute or not.
absolutely.
Um,
No,
the other
sorry,
thing I wanted to comment too, and okay,
just to unmute myself and comment. I,
yeah, go, Paul.
I absolutely get it, and I am kind of in awe of what's happening. I think I need to go back and read and watch this again to really understand it. I just wanted to put out there that one of the beautiful joys of Tinderbox is that you get to this higher level of understanding by moving through a lot of steps yourself, and so I wouldn't want to shortcut that with AI.
You don't have to, but sometimes I do want to. I can give you a sneak preview of what we are actually about to get at. Look at this one. You pretty much you pretty much recognize what we are doing over here. This is from the start where we fetch the URL. Then we have all those row posts in here. Then we have those adornments, which I created a grid and aligned everything just neatly in the center. Then you see the logic of the flags with the 3 colors or the 2 colors or the 1 color. You see all that. This is just amazing enough. But then it becomes big. This is the argumentation map. And now look at this. I said make strong links where the real thread of the argumentation runs and show me where the moderate or the even weak ones are. Isn't that incredible? This is just incredible. Look at this. Now I can go here and say, take this one, take this one, take this one, take this one, and take this one, and take that one. And now look at this. Of course, you have the entire thread just reduced to the very argument Catherine, I guess is her name, was trying to make. And then look, she was talking to Mark Anderson, and then we can dial us in here. This is incredible. And I don't want to do this myself. I don't need to do this myself. I just need to have it under my hands rather immediately in order to make sure I'm picking up the right information in this very thread and can decide whether I'm capable of contributing or whether I just better stay out of the ring. Do you see what I mean, Paul? Okay. The others are invited to give comments on this as well, because I just
suspect he's on mute again.
Yeah, I just want to say,
by the way,
I can't
Andreas,
get...
Andreas, the one comment I have are concern.
No, hold on for a second, because Paul was saying something.
Just a short comment. I'm in awe of what you're doing, and I want to do it myself, but I realize there's a little bit of a learning curve here.
This is the only thing I wanted you today as a takeaway. I want you to want this, all right? Because this is me. I wanted this too, but I'm not having the time to read again stuff like this or figure it out in ATB-Ref. But here, this argumentation map lies in front of me after 27 minutes of work. And the next time I pull out a thread from the forum, I'm just using this Tinderbox and say, do it again the same way. And it probably takes me 3 or 5 minutes to have just an argument like this. This is incredible. This is the way I want to work. And this is the way I wanted you to know and to share with the community and to let Mark Bernstein know what a beautiful monster he created. All right. Maybe this is even time for me to shut up and hand over to you, Mr. Becker, because you had a question yourself anyway.
I do have a.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. One is I'd like you to, after I've asked my question, I'd love it if you can pop open the assessment you've done of all the hundreds of meetups we've had and demonstrate that, because I thought that was really cool.
Yes,
but my question is, or more of a statement for everyone, is, and first and foremost, this is just amazing. I love it. But the statement I have is, and I don't have a better analogy for this, but I feel like that AI alcoholic who wants to be independent and says, I've got a hold of this and I'll just have 1 beer. And the next thing I know, I'm 10 beers in. I mean, at what point do we lose our ability to think for ourselves? And I actually find myself, as of late, especially with a few personal issues going on, almost incapable of writing my own email without checking with Claude first to make sure it's like appropriate and toned properly and legally compliant. So at what point are we going to kind of lose our agency?
Well, this is probably a question everybody is invited to comment on.
Michael, you bring up an interesting point. And for me, it has to do with whether you already have the skills and now you're using AI as a check and a guide, but still retaining your own skill set and judgment versus turning it over to AI. And it is the latter that that whole critical thinking element,
Right.
that motivation to develop your own skill set first. If something else can do it for you, take a stick shift versus automatic transmission. Once automatics came in, how many people can drive a stick effectively?
Right.
So I think you're,
Yeah. And then, but
you
even if you are the
touched it.
expert, or even if you are comfortable with your,
I was just going to say, I think human nature is that people are going to gravitate toward the latter. That's the big challenge to me. I appreciated Paul's comment so much that I've got a couple of simple projects that I'm putting together, and I made the enormous mistake of starting off with Claude because Claude is wonderful. So Claude's going to outline it for me. It was a patient management system using two different agencies, so it's two different pathways. Anyway, Claude created it beautifully, wrote some code. I began using it. It was a piece of junk because it didn't match what my actual workflow was. And so it took me a little while to realize to throw the entire thing away, start off, and then use incremental formalization. And then at that point, begin to have Claude help me a little bit. And that made a big difference. I don't know. So those are my experiences. As people know, I'm at the lower end of the Tinderbox skill set. So when I make something work, it's actually quite an accomplishment.
well, and put in your comments, you had actually asked for Andreas to point to us, like, is there some setup stuff that you missed? Like setting up the skill in Claude and things like that. Can you comment on that?
Oh, you know what? I was watching, and it's just that, I recently signed up for the Claude Pro version, and within that code was one of the choices. I did not see the same screen that was presented to us. What I saw was three different choices for using either terminal, using VS Code, which I've adopted, or using web. And it looks to me like this is using terminal, but even when I clicked on terminal, I simply saw a very different interface. So that's
Yes.
just technical stuff, and I'm sure there's a way to figure it out. But Andreas, that was where I followed all of your processes. There's a lot to learn there. And my other comment was, for each project, then, are we creating the equivalent of an installation file to make sure that Claude is up to speed? And if so, is there a basic formula for doing that? Those were the couple of areas that I had hiccups on. But beyond that, I followed everything you were doing.
All right. So the project folder you just create in order to make sure you want it, which I can show if you want later. As I said, I have Claude creating a PowerPoint presentation. So it needs to know where to put this PowerPoint presentation. It needs to have a allowance to work on my drive. This is the very project folder I'm working in. And each session you create, oh, let me start this way. You are completely right, Bruce. These days, even with Claude, things change on a weekly level. So we have a desktop app, Claude Desktop. This is the Claude Desktop app I'm using. And it just, I think a week, Detlef might help me out and know better. But just within the last week or 1.5 weeks, um, um, Claude Cowork and even Claude Code became available through the Claude desktop app. So because I'm not a terminal guy and I just wanted to showcase how to use Tinderbox as a dummy, as which I consider myself a Tinderbox dummy, I just wanted to make sure not to say, come on, guys, put down your brain and hand it over to Claude because it's taken over now. It's not what I'm trying to tell you and showcase here. I'm just trying to tell you that I am becoming fluent in the way I think while I'm getting a lot of technical stuff out of my way. my way. I'm talking about me. That doesn't mean that I'm not loving it the way, having myself a good empty tinderbox and starting from scratch. I'm with you, Paul. I know that. I still love that because this is the way I'm incubating ideas. But then I have it, and what's next? And there, I'd love to be able to rather stay on the path of following the idea instead of writing the idea down, pausing it, and going to ATB ref and figuring out how to actually achieve things. So I want to have a blending, not one going beyond the other or being more important than the other. Um, it's
Andreas, I have a follow-up question, and that's helpful. So I was looking around, and now I see where I can download. It gives me a choice of downloading CodeWork and Terminal, and then it says the Apple desktop app. So it
and you
sounds like
will
that's
use
what I.
and you will use this very one. You I don't want people. I mean, we have people like Chuck Wade with us. Those guys know their way around in terminals and stuff like that. I'm not. So I just want to show you something that is um, ambitious as far as ideas and thinking is concerned, but I'm not as proficient in the use of terminal and the computer and Tinderbox. But I I envy those other people. I can't tell you how much I got inspired by Jack's installer and by the way of creating some sort of windows where certain ways of linking information is becoming available. I just love that. But I knew I would never be able to pull something off like this in ages. But I'd love to. So that's why I'm trying to cheat in a way I make obvious to everybody as immediately as I did the trick. All right. In order to have everybody else those tricks up their sleeves in order to get shit done thinking wise.
I just have a brief follow-up, and then let me turn it over to Win and Paul. When you use the desktop app, because the projects that I'm developing in the US, basically, confidentiality, HIPAA compliance. So I don't want Claude knowing who clients are and information like that. If I maintain it as the desktop app, is that providing sufficient security because it's all local? The only place that the Tinderbox app is going to reside is in a secure folder.
Great question, good question, and I don't know much answers to those things. I haven't worked with sensible data that isn't out there in the internet as of yet. We'll see times, and Mark Bernstein already talked about this, that Olama or any other LLM on a local machine will be capable of doing what right now Claude seems to do so well. As I said, I'm not a tech guy. I'm the guy who wants to use the tech in
So
order
that's
to make
something
a
I'll
big
want to
idea.
explore because that level of confidentiality and making sure that Claude is not cheating and going out on the web to share or find information, that's really critical,
That's
at
okay.
least
That's
for a
good.
couple of my projects. Let me turn it over to others. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
This is really enlightening.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thanks,
Paul, again.
Andreas. I got so many great ideas from your presentation. Really appreciate it. About midway through, you showed what you called a dashboard Tinderbox file, and I gather that was pictures of Tinderbox files that you can use to direct to other independent Tinderbox files. Am I wording that right?
No, perfectly. That was the idea. Whenever, and I think this is probably even something you came up with in past meetings, whether there is a way of having more than one Tinderbox file knowing of each other. And I said, I get this. I like the idea. And as Michael was asking me, could you kindly just show the way you pulled all those transcripts from the from the past Tinderbox meetups from the web, and I was looking through the names of my documents and I couldn't find it because this very project I didn't put on the dashboard. On the dashboard, I would have found it immediately because the visual cues are so helpful. Yeah, so yes, Paul, that's the idea. Just have a big, not a big, just have a Tinderbox file and using the SVG vector graphics I created, put it in there, and have a link from there to the very Tinderbox file. The Tinderbox dashboard file is just 100K big, and it makes it so delightful to start up and fire up things. And I like it when it's aesthetically pleasing. Sorry, that's me. So, Win, we can't hear you, Rin.
I have on the mute button.
Right.
So one thing, Andreas, this is very fascinating, and thanks for going through us with this. As far as both losing skills for doing things, one of the things I'm pretty sure that would work exactly in the environment you're working with for someone who wanted to learn the Tinderbox techniques for doing them is just after Claude does it, ask Claude to explain it to me and write down how I would do this myself.
Vin, you won't believe what I just did, and if you don't mind, I will show you because exactly that's what I did. Because that's what it all needs to end. Have a perfect documentation linked to any explanatory material, and because maybe Mary Beth or Mr. Michael Becker are in the room, they are asking for some sort of PowerPoint, whether through Pandoc or any other way. So you better be prepared, and I'm prepared. All right. Okay. So, but Win, let me show. May I show my screen again?
Yes, I have a follow-up for Bruce after you do that.
Yeah, if you don't mind, we do things first, and then I show you. Okay, let me get you on the bandwagon again, which means getting myself on the bandwagon in the first place. Here we are. So, are you back on the track? So, as I said, now, by the way, just look how incredibly smooth it scales in and scales out. So again, Mr. Mark Bernstein, thank you very much for doing such a great work. I was just so delighted tonight to work with this version. So here you see it, and to the very left, Win, there we have this, what you are asking for. And it says workflow illustration. This is not exactly what you were asking for, but I just wanted to show you that I'm thinking in the same direction, not just getting shit done, but knowing how it's gotten done by having an illustration. So here we have it. There is the foundation connecting to Tinderbox via JXA. This is JSON. I think it is JavaScript for automation, as far as I know, but I don't have to know because I just need to look it up. There you have it. All right. So just take those 3 notes. Oh my goodness, interesting. This is foundation. Now look at the data acquisition. Oh, he's doing it this way. I never thought of that before. Okay, you get the idea. I can stop. Couldn't stop there. Is this sort of an answer to what you meant with?
Oh, that is definitely in the same direction.
The same direction. It's not the same thing, but the same direction.
Right.
And,
yes.
And I just can do it by example and not as explicitly as needed or wanted. So please, Win, go ahead.
And then I think that from what you have done, if you wanted to understand how to do the steps yourself, right, that would be the basis for just saying, like, explain this like in terms of Tinderbox commands and clicking on things or whatever for it to get the human steps to do some of that for it, or you could get it to narrate things that way initially. I just wanted to also follow up on Bruce's comments. For now, Bruce, with patient data, and we've talked about some of that before, I would be very careful with it because I think that the tools are trying to get better, and there are differences between the pro plan and or commercial use paid plans and the free ones. But with patient data where you need to be extra careful about privacy, I would be concerned about that. Even with incognito mode, as was suggested in the chat, which is very helpful a lot of times, actually. I use it frequently for that.
To that point, when the way that I've been using it currently is that it's in two separate windows, and I ask my questions, within the Claude or Gemini environment. I take its answers and then I implement those answers. So I'm the link between. I have not gotten to the point of comfortability yet where I feel like I can link Claude or even Gemini to a live project that has patient data. I still, even as I thought Gemini within a HIPAA compliant environment was fully secure, I'm now starting to read some things that suggest there are some cracks in that system, depending upon what you ask it to do.
Honestly, Bruce, I hope you never get to the point of being comfortable with that, simply because the corporate systems architecture will always, that's just a cybersecurity 101. There's always going to be a hole, a breach somewhere. And then ultimately you as the clinician are going to be liable on the tools that you choose to use. And that can be a whole helly mess. Until you actually can run this stuff locally on a machine, like using a local Llama and a local model, and you can be guaranteed that the data is not being processed externally to the internet, hold those fears. In my world,
Okay.
and then honestly, there was the best book I ever read. One of the best books I ever read was The Truth Machine by John Halpern. And there was and the whole idea, the premise of the book is someone invents a piece of technology that with 100% certainty, someone's telling the truth. And there was a character in the book that said, I'm just needing to now live my life as everything I can do can show up on the front page of the newspaper tomorrow. Right? That if you're using the public systems, you just have to assume it can be made public at some point.
Thank you.
I get off my rant.
Bruce, a couple of other things that might be of interest there. One is that you could use this technique that Andreas was talking about of having a test file where you're working out the workflow and then having to explain what to do on your real one.
That's so funny you said. That's exactly what I've created. I put in dummy names that I plan to substitute the real names once it's done. That's helpful.
I'm doing this all the time, because whether you're substituting names or you're saying now recreate the whole thing but doing it in English instead of in German, it's just a matter of seconds. All right. That's what I wanted to demonstrate. So the process itself becomes so interesting and engaging, especially when it comes. Please hold on for a second, Win, because we are not having time for this. If you like to, we can follow up on this as well. But you can easily imagine what this means for the Tinderbox tool to become such an indispensable tool for almost everything you do. Because like Paul Christie recently working with DevonThink, of course, I'm just having a watch group in DevonThink with almost all those information. I put them in the Tinderbox. Now I use Claude and create something from there, create via MCP a Notion page, which someone is editing. And while he's editing, I'm working on a different part of the Tinderbox. And then a few hours later, I just pull in all the changes that they made and have it recreated in my Tinderbox file. And from there, it's just a matter of minutes that I create the final PowerPoint presentation. So that doesn't mean I have to do it all the times just in order to warrant what I can do. I just wanted to make sure that people like me, who are not capable of maneuvering everything I'd love to be able to, is getting in the way of my thinking process, because this is the most important thing for me. And that's why I'm saying it's not just a tool for notes, but it is the very working bench. Tinderbox just moved so much right in the middle of everything I'm doing, whether it's in or out, or whether it is just incubating it and stuff. I could even just use Tinderbox alongside as an illustration tool for everything I write in Notion, just to show me how the structure is, because it doesn't have a proper mirror implementation or stuff like that. So Tinderbox can also be just a new way of dashboardizing and monitoring graphically. Think of the hyperbolic view and stuff like this. It's just incredible. And I love the way my mind is going crazy without being able to do all the stuff Jack and friends are capable of. Okay, I'm sorry again, excited again. Now it's back to win.
Not at all. It's a great show today. And Bruce, just a side point again for an exploration you may or may not want to undertake for it is that for some of the kinds of things I can imagine you might want to try, I think we've built up enough of the basic linkages for Tinderbox now. I haven't done any of it. Those in the community have done it. To use a local LLM using the open source models to do some of the language processing to give you some information about like details in and correlations across sort of the patient notes, for example, that you might have for it. Those models are not quite as good as the frontier ones we're mostly talking about. So I would be cautious about it, but it might be an interesting exploration for you.
Thanks. No, I mean, when I see certain things like those dashboards that Andreas created, I frankly just drool, because the idea of being able to have that level of granularity is so, appealing. I mean, for me, I'm just because of the kind of programs I run, we're always moving around somewhere around 50 to 60 clients at a time. And while we've used spreadsheets in the past, I'm finding immediately that putting all of it into Tinderbox and putting the tasks in there and creating just some simple queries for myself is already giving me a command of the data, and I'm getting things done that were dropping through the cracks before. And I barely scratched the surface on this. I'm just doing it with 8 clients so far, and I've got another 50 to add. But your point is well taken, and there's an embarrassing riches of choices as part of the problem, that there's just too many different AI systems and which one for which. And lately I've actually been using Gemini and Claude and asking which of them I should use, and they seem to be pretty friendly with each other. Gemini will also often say, I'm better at the overall management, but Claude is really much better at writing the code. And so that's kind of how I've been going along. But yeah, all of these points are well taken, and I trust that. And at the moment, because my Tinderbox file isn't actually connected to anything, that's where I feel comfortable in my HIPAA compliance.
Okay, this is, I mean, as you see, it's supposed to spark a discussion, and we don't have to come to an end today. Before Michael Becker is asking his probably final question, I just want to deliver on two things. I just showcase the meeting notes that I pulled from the internet with all the transcription, and make use of the rather fantastic filtering and search function in outline mode in Tinderbox. I show you this, and then in the end I show you a PowerPoint that I just created from everything I created before in Tinderbox, and have it ready to go even a bit quicker than Master Dr. Becker did the last time. So there we have it. If you don't mind, I share my screen one further time. All right. Do you see? So what I basically did is the same thing as we did with this thread. I just had to ask Claude to pull all those information in. And interesting of this is what I ask it to praise the key attributes with, because I said don't touch any of the system attributes, we just go from scratch, and you put in front of every new attribute, I need a TBX, and so we are absolutely safe and not messing up and mixing up anything we might need later down the road. So and here you have it. You have all those Tinderbox notes up to the one of last week in here with the transcript. There you have it, just like this. But the thing is, I didn't do anything. It just pulled it in for me. And this makes it interesting once I'm doing a search. So switching to outline mode, getting rid of the sidebar, having it a little bigger over here. Now doing, in my case, Command, Option, Shift, and F for the query of a filter, and I have some prepared. Of course, I just started with Wittgenstein, and all of the sudden I have found where Wittgenstein is. And Wittgenstein, because I asked Claude to create not only the transcript of the file of the meeting, but if there is a chat available on the website, put it in here as plain text as well. And that's what it did. And God thanks it did, because otherwise I never would have found Wittgenstein. But now Wittgenstein is supposed to be right here. And there we have him. Wittgenstein's letter, as Mark Bernstein reminded us of. So I'm doing this in just a couple of seconds, and I'll report back, if you don't mind, how well it is going to work once I re-invoke it, in order to have the next session, namely the one today, 149, available, and then it will pull it in and get the transcript, get the chat, and stuff like that. And so we have this one, and now I'm supposed to get ready, or everybody's supposed to get ready for the PowerPoint show, because that's what I promised, and that's what I'm going to deliver. So let's see. So I'm not a PowerPoint user myself. That's why I just have to figure out how this is going to work, and probably have to switch the displays if I only knew how to do this. I think swapping displays is over here. Now here we have it. Can you see?
Yes.
There you have it. So this is toward emergent structure. 5 steps from raw data to insight. Foundation, data acquisition, thematic analysis, visual refinement. You can read it yourself. I don't have to read it for you. Connection. There you have it. Going all the way through. It just did it. Literally while I was getting my stuff together in order to leave the house for the presentation. I even never, took a look at before I actually got it delivered straight from Tinderbox using Claude. So thank you for being so patient with a crazy guy like me, who's hopping to and fro, and let you a little bit hop through the hoops. But I love being with you. I'm so inspired by you. And the first thing I had myself, I could possibly manage to fill a Tinderbox meeting, was this one. Dr. Becker was kindly enough to push me, taking chances. And here we were. Thank you to everybody of you. Thank you.
That was absolutely exceptional. And I do have one final question for all of you. I mean, at what level do we need to start applying our own understanding and our own expertise? And when do we start losing agency and defaulting that the AI is always giving us the right answer? Like, that's what I'm really frightened of, is like, and building in that discipline of going back to the original material and not just trusting the summary, and how do we incrementally embrace this, like the Russian proverb of trust but verify? What are all of your thoughts on that before as we end up with this process? Because I could see us, like literally just becoming so dependent on having AI do all the work for us.
Have you got another 2 hours?
Maybe that's a
Maybe
talk
you
for
want to
next
schedule
week,
this
but
for a follow-on.
yeah.
Oh,
But let's get a
oh.
quick response though, if we can. Mr. Bernstein, you were raising your hand. You're on mute.
My experience has been that you don't have to worry about remembering that Claude often makes mistakes. Claude, if you forget, Claude will remind you, and often in spectacular ways. Uh, it is important politically and in thinking about using AI that we keep this in mind. But for the time being, at least, it constantly makes mistakes and goes down rabbit holes and does things the hard way and forgets the solution it's just proposed.
Yeah.
But
Chuck?
uh, but not spending all your time making presentations for your manager and actually solving real problems is desirable.
Yeah, for sure. Mr. Chuck.
I guess I would observe from my own experience over a pretty long period of time that whenever new technology comes along, it gets used and abused. And the real problem we have is that it seems like 50% of the population is always out to abuse a technology, and the other 50% struggles hard to make good use of it. And I see AI being nothing more but just a bigger amplifier of that effect. That we're going to see smart people, cognizant people, thoughtful, morally ethical people doing the best job they can to leverage the technology. And we're going to see everybody else running around, turning it into porn generation or the latest gambling scheme or another get rich quick scheme. I mean, it's just that, and how to abuse other people for your profit. I mean, that's the way it's always gone. And so the biggest problem with all of this is human nature. And I have no solution to that problem, nor can I suggest a way of getting there.
Well, and there are a lot of people smarter than us, like Aristotle, have been working on it and tried to work on this a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Della.
Yeah, it's Chuck made a very good statement just a second ago. It's human nature, but the thing is, what really I really like to play around with AI, and it's making my life in parts easier. And if you are an expert in an area, it helps you, for example, solving type work or something like that. But for example, when Andreas just started his presentation, I thought, a very typical AI presentation. It changed later, Andreas, but at the start, where we already have a lot of information and AI takes it, puts it into another form, and we have the same information again. That's very common thing with AI. Just to take something that is already there and put it together in a new document, and you say, I have something new, I created it my own. No, you didn't do it your own, it's already there. And the big problem for me with AI is that people who are not experts use it a lot, and this will average the outcome. And all the pikes that are very human, these mistakes are nice things, nice ideas, creativity, they are gone. And because AI, we had a very nice talk last year by a girl talking about, how did she call it? That AI cannot check whether a text has been written by AI itself. And so learning from itself, will make things even worse than they were before, because you need these creative peaks to make new things, and AI will not make these peaks, never, ever. And that's a big problem if everybody is jumping on the train. And the other thing is, I wrote it to the chat, that the costs for AI are very, very high. The power consumption, the water consumption is incredible, and we are not paying at the moment for the costs. And if the people, if this run for who is first will stop, and they will ask us to pay for AI the amount of money they need to make their shareholders happy, it will be a big problem for many companies who switch now to completely use AI for all their, I don't know, back-end stuff, because it will be incredible. It will be 10, 20 times of what we pay now.
Well, and that's a really smart point. And it's these unknown externalities, particularly the negative ones that we're not really considering. And for example, the Amazon box tax that cities absorb. Amazon's shipping all these crates to us every day, and we're all super happy. But now cities are overwhelmed with having to recycle cardboard, and Amazon doesn't have to pay for. So it's going to be interesting how we deal with all those problems. Anybody else have any other thoughts, comments before we shut down for the day? No? Andreas, I thought that was incredible and very, very inspiring. So thank you very much. I can't wait to play with this myself this week.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity to share it with you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're looking forward to version 2 in a week or two when you've like gone to the next level again.
Very impressive.
Awesome.
Bye bye,
Thank
everybody.
you. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.